Om. 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 O Brahma, O Brahma or Brahman, O the Sakshi, O the Chitana or Chaitana, O the Brahma, O the limitless, O the cosmos, O the boundless, O the eternity. Lead this Atman in your path and lead this Atman, lead this Atman in your path and lead this Atman in the path which has no fear. Lead this Atman in the path which has no duality. When I am saying this wish of mine, when I am saying this awareness of mine, when I am saying this wish of mine, and when I am saying this awareness of mine to Brahman, it seems like that Atman, it seems like that Brahman it seems like that Brahman exists outside of Atman. So many times in spirituality, so many times in the spiritual circle, we use we use the term Brahman. You have seen me using in numerous posts the term Brahman. You see, word is not that. I want you to understand that. Word is not that. Word can only explain. Word cannot explain. Again, I repeat, word cannot explain what you really feel. Word cannot explain what you are really going through. So no matter what you say, Brahman or Atman, Atman only you would say when you looking at Brahman through the perspective of an individual. Most of the time we are using our individuality. Most of the time we are using our individuality during our day. Most of the time we are perceiving ourself as a separate self or as an individual. So I am making you understand, or I am attempting to make you understand through the perspective of a separate self. In a reality, in the ultimate, there is no separate self. We have talked about that numerous times. There is the perspective of Brahman. When Brahman wants to experience through the perspective of the objects, when Brahman wants to experience
through the perspective of the objects. It sees the reality. It sees through the perspective of objects and form, because Brahman is formless. If you understand, Brahman has no smell. Brahman has no objectivity. Brahman, not, I wouldn't even go as far as that Brahman has any type of light. It's neither happy or neither sad. It's a field beyond happiness and sadness. It's a field where there is no happiness or sadness, where there just consistency of the sense of self-awareness or consciousness. If you can see something, if you can conceptualize something, if you can touch it, if you can smell it, if you can hold it, all of that, that is not a real. Means when I'm saying that is not a real, I'm not trying to betray your perception. But when I'm saying it is not a real, it means that it is not real in the sense of ultimate. It is not the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality or Brahman cannot be seen, cannot be conceptualized, cannot be imagined or thought, cannot be smelled, cannot be tasted, cannot be touched, cannot be heard, is formless, is shapeless. That's why Brahman is looking through forms and shape. When Brahman wants to experience itself through form and shape, me and you come into being. But the source of creation is within, you see. So when I say the awareness, when I say that, O Brahman, it means I'm talking through the perspective of a separate self. But there is no separate self. It's also Brahman interacting with Brahman, you see. Oh. Somebody asked me if are you a man or a woman, and I answered that I answered to this person that what difference it is going to make in your life or the very experience of life that you are living. Are you following me? Somebody asked my gender, if I am a man or a woman. And I asked this person that what difference it is going to make in the very experience of the life you are living. You see, curiosity, huh? I can understand your curiosity, but question your curiosity. Question your curiosity that if this curiosity is useful for me or this curiosity is useless. If this curiosity is useless, then get rid of the curiosity. You see, this curiosity is useless because it's not playing no role. It's not playing no significant role in the very experience of life that you are living. Are you following me? Happy birthday. Now, the reason I wish you happy birthday because you are being born every moment when you are inhaling. You know that? Because one day it happens to all of us that one day what would happen that we would exhale. you see, but we wouldn't be able to inhale again. You see, it happens to each one of us. This is the common trait, basically, that we share this common trait. You see, we may not share a lot of common traits, but we share this common trait, if you understand what I'm saying, that one day we would exhale, but we would not be able to inhale. This is the common trait that we all share, and we know through the evidence that it happens to each one of us. No one has ever escaped it, if you understand. So, what survive after that, basically, if the curiosity can benefit that which survives afterwards, then your curiosity is legitimate. Whether I'm a man or I'm a woman, it is not playing no significant role in your life. It is not changing the very experience. It is not changing the very experience of life that you are living, if you understand. And of course, you are living a life. Are you not living a life? You have a life to live, and you are living that life. So try to only try to adopt things that really can change the very experience of the life that you are living. That is what we understand, the truth, the transparency, that is what we understand, the wisdom that benefits you for eternity, that benefits you for eternity. There is no barrier here. So take your faith out. This was an example, basically, that I gave you, and it has a very significant reason I gave you that example, that most of us humans have invested our focus and awareness in useless things, if you understand. That's why our faith and our focus is not free. Faith without any dimension is necessary. Faith without anything outside of yourself is necessary, if you understand. It's not necessary to invest your faith in if somebody is a male or a female. It does not change the experience of life you are living in this very moment. So ponder and get curious and get concerned about the things which may change the experience of your life that you are living. You may be depressed, sadly, and unfortunately. You may be anxious, sadly, and unfortunately. We all have been there. Sometimes it seems like a struggle for you, unfortunately, to even leave the couch or bed, but you can still change that. This is the time. The time to do the right thing is always present. The time to transcend the karma is always present. It's not in the past, not in the future, because one is memory, the other is imagination. And that's what most of the humans are suffering, the memory and the imagination. Please understand that, okay? So invest your focus in something that can change. If you are feeling depressed, anxious, if you are feeling paranoid, if you have fear, ponder on things. Is there something more or something beyond this feeling? If you understand, is there something beyond this feeling? You see, ponder on it, focus on it, and look. When you understand and focus on things like that, then the right kind of solutions to deal with that problem or the karma attached to us would come in your awareness. I can guarantee you that. You see, that's how I changed. I was depressed, I was anxious. You see, all of us have gone through with this, basically. Um, One way or another, we all have gone through with this or are going through. But the only person or the only being who can do something about it is yourself, you see. So in So ponder, bring your focus voluntarily to the things that can change the very experience of the life you are living, not if somebody is a male or a female, not if where somebody is from, not if not if I have ever pondered what the name of God is, you see, or what the nature of God is, or what the form of God is, or how God looks like. In the beginning of this video, in the beginning of this wisdom, I told you in the beginning of this very wisdom that if you can conceptualize something, if you can think about something, if you can, what the word I'm looking for in English, gauge through your thinking mind, if you can smell it, if you can touch it, if you can get the pleasure from the sensation of it, it is not God. You see, God is something that only can be experienced. God cannot be verbalized or conceptualized. You see, when I'm saying God, I'm talking through the perspective of religion, because unfortunately and sadly, the term God has been corrupted and misinterpreted a lot. It is, I would probably say, it is one of the most misunderstood term throughout the world. Basically, everyone has their own definition, everyone has their own connotation of what God is, and then it varies by the religion, then it varies by the culture. But the thing is, God is nothing but the sense of self awareness. God is nothing but the sense of consciousness which can be experienced firsthand without leaving the body, even remain in the body through meditation and through Kriya meditation. There comes a time in your life, if you dedicate yourself a little time every day, there comes a time in your life that you experience God firsthand. You see, and when you experience it, there are no words to tell other people how was your experience. God, as I said, it can only be experienced. I was in a conversation quite a while back. It has been numerous years back in Florida when I was living. I was in a conversation with a fella who I think was a pastor or a prominent Christian figure and a church going person, which is fine. This is your life. You have got every right to do and decide what you want from this life. It's very simple. It is yours and it is your right. And I respect your right, basically. I respect your right, basically, to follow or to believe what you want to believe. You see, do I respect the belief itself? No. Because if we cannot grow, we cannot evolve if we keep respecting the belief itself. We cannot grow, we cannot evolve if we cannot audit or question the belief itself, because by questioning we would know whether I am believing in some nonsense or I am believing in something which is getting me close to the truth, if you understand. Not to be too bent, not to be too bent or deviated. I was in a conversation with a fella back in Florida while I was living over there, and the fella was telling a church going person, as I mentioned, the whole introduction, the whole 9 yards. I wouldn't mention the name or identification. Even if I did, you wouldn't have a clue because you do not know who that person is. But I'm making a significant point here for you to understand. So this fella was bragging about God, this God, that God is love, and God is this, and Jesus, Son of God, this and that. And this is fine. You can say whatever you think it is. But if you can think, if you can talk about it, if you can even try to portray its nature, if you can even try to portray its figure, if you understand, then it is not real. The God you have in your mind can be easily conceptualized. The God I don't have in my mind is the God. You know why? Because I only experience that God. I cannot explain that God. And I do. You see, when I go in that profound state of Kriya meditation, I become, I go in a samadhi, which is rather potent. For easy to understand, samadhi is a rather potent form of meditation where you are losing the touch of the accumulation, what you understand as your body, where you are losing the touch of what you understand as your mind. Mind is also accumulation, by the way, make no mistake. Everything that you have gathered through your five senses is being recorded. You have humongous memory. So mind is also humongous, and it's recording every single thing that you are experiencing. So it is fair to say it's also accumulation, because you are gathering and the data is being stored. Mind, but when I go in a profound state of meditation, I lose the touch of the individual self, or the separate self, or the human ego, or the human intellect, or the mind, the thought process, the whole psychology. Or I also lose, and I also lose the total awareness of my body. Now, mind you something, as I said, you can only experience that state, so I cannot. The closest I can tell you is it's a state in which the closest we can wrap our mind around it is a state in which I I am aware to my full extent, but without any, I the closest I can get it. See, something so difficult I'm trying to verbalize to give you a glimpse, that I am extremely aware and extremely awake of my own presence without having a mind or memory in me, you see. And in the other words, I'm saying it is that everything has stopped. You lose the awareness of time, you lose the awareness of any dimensions or directions. There is no beginning or there is no end. And I am there in samadhi, but I cannot stay over there for longer periods of time. And the reason I just lose every awareness, but this awareness remains only. That I am aware extremely, and I am extremely awake, and I am extremely aware without having any thought, any sense of time, any sense of dimension, or any sense of happiness, or any sense of sadness or depression. I just am. And then it feels like that everything has stopped. There is no beginning or an end. This is when you are getting in touch with Brahman. And then what happens is I have the awareness, if I didn't retrieve back, then I wouldn't be able to retrieve back for good. Mean I would be dead in people's eyes. I would leave my body for good. So somehow, intuitively, I still retrieve back. I am able to retrieve back, you see. But that's when you experience this state, you cannot verbalize it. I told you, so we can just look around this state, and this state can be achieved through the dedication. This state can be achieved through the dedication towards your Kriya, yoga, and meditation. Everything requires practical, you see. This state can also be stated as bliss, you see. It's Bliss has nothing to do with happiness. And obviously, bliss has nothing to do with sadness. You see, bliss is something consistent. Bliss is something persistent. Bliss is something. So that kind of sentiment, that kind of state that is when you experience Brahman. You see, you don't have to leave the body in order to experience that state. As a matter of fact, not everyone who dies or the bodily demise, not everyone who dies or the bodily demise can experience Brahman either. You see, not everyone. It just depends that how we lived our entire life and also how we passed on. It depends on both, that how we lived. So I was in the conversation with this fella, and he was bragging about God, this and that, and he was saying all this as God is something outside. I said, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. You see, happy birthday again. I told him, I said, I'm going to ask you a very, very simple question. And it's a very simple question. It's so simple that anyone can answer. And then we can carry on. And then we can carry on with what you are. Love you. And then we can carry on what you are saying about God and all the knowledge that you have gathered without experiencing God. And he said, shoot the question, I'm ready. I said, pay attention to the question and then answer me fairly and honestly. And he said, okay, what is the question? I said, if the God you are talking about, keep that God in mind and everything what you have told me so far. If you did not exist, you see, if you did not exist at all, mean there was no sign of your existence, if you were not aware of yourself, not aware by something outside of you, if you were just simply not aware, how do you even know, my followers, my seers, my listeners, how do you even know that you exist? Have you not ever questioned this fundamental question that the existence of everything is based on this question? Have you not ever pondered about this? And you are living a life of 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 100 years. It's a tragedy if you didn't get around this question in one lifetime. It means you are not making time to understand what you are. How do you even know you exist? Because you simply are aware, isn't it? You don't have to agree with me or you don't have to disagree with me. Just listen to what I am saying to you. After that, whatever you do with this truth, it's on you, or whatever you do with this wisdom is on you. How do you even know that you exist? Have you not ever pondered or asked this question? Is the source of wisdom, this question basically. If you answered this question honestly, within and profoundly, you would acquire every truth and every wisdom that there is to know. You see, I'm getting there, so I can tell you that I know it through my own experience. You exist because you are simply aware, isn't it? You are self-aware. You are self-aware, and hence you exist. Is you are not aware by something. You are not aware with something outside. You are simply aware of yourself, isn't it? You are simply aware of yourself, so you exist. So I asked this fella, I said, if you did not exist in the very first place, the God you are talking about, would that God exist? Or Allah or Jehovah or God, or whatever you want to call it, these abstract words to define something which only can be experienced. You see, I said the God you are talking about, if you didn't exist in the very first place, that God you are talking about, would that God exist in your experience? If you yourself didn't exist in the very first place, and he said no, that God would not exist. So I looked at him and I said, it looks like, Luke, it looks like that if the existence of that God is depending on your own existence, you see, then that God becomes a concept and your own existence becomes God. And it goes to everything which exists outside of yourself. If you didn't exist, nothing would exist, including the God you are talking about and running your mouth. And he said, it's 100% true. I said it. So it looks like that God you are talking about becomes a concept, and your own existence, on which the existence of everything depends, becomes God. And he said that is 100% true, you see. So after that, anytime he saw me, he just, changed the lanes, or the, what we call in the supermarkets or the grocery stores, aisles. So your existence is the existence of everything, your own existence. What we do in Kriya meditation to bring you close to your own self. Brahman is your own self. Brahman is your own self. Brahman is not outside of you. Brahman is not existing outside of you. Brahman is not existing out there. Brahman, through the perspective of individual, the Atman, but through the perspective of Brahman. When through Kriya meditation you acquire the awareness of Brahman while remain in the body. Yogis, proper yogis, not blonde chicks flying over in the yoga pants. I'm not talking about fictional yogis. I'm talking about proper yogis. Proper yogis in India, in South America, in some parts of Africa. They do it all the time. They experience Brahman, the source, in the Atman, you see, in India. And when you go in nearby vicinity, when you go nearby in their vicinity, your goosebumps, the hair on your skin would be standing like this only when you get close. I told you yesterday or the day before in one of the retreat when I was talking about compulsion or something. I do still remember distinctively that I mentioned the presence of Gautama Siddhartha or the presence of Gautama Buddha could be felt from 3 or 4 miles away, you see. So there is nothing fictional is happening. I'm just telling you, and I'm bringing your awareness to the immensity of your own self, you see. If you understand, I am bringing your awareness to the immensity of your own self. I went into a convention. There were a lot of near death experiencers around, quite a few wise people who said pretty good things and wise things. And one of the fellas said that Swami is here, and he said, Swami, introduce yourself. He said to me, Swami, introduce yourself. And I looked at the fella and I said, my job is not to introduce myself. My job is to introduce yourself to yourself. You know, I said, my job is not to introduce you, not to introduce myself to you. My job is to introduce you to yourself. See, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm attempting to make you comprehend or understand that what you have forgotten because of the lies and conditioning and domestication. Some of these lies, conditioning, and domestication are necessary for you in order to function the society and hold several rules of the society, which is fine. But have the awareness, and most of these domestication and conditioning are serving no purpose but taking us away from our main goal, is to achieve that state while still remain in the human body through the dedication towards Kriya Yoga and through the dedication towards Kriya meditation, you see. And so I told this person, I said, my job is to, and that's what I'm doing. I'm basically introducing you to your own self. You are the Brahman, you are the universe. You can experience the source of creation as the source of creation, or you can experience the source of creation as Atman. When the source of creation is when the source of creation is pretending, it's very deep. You have no idea. When the source of creation is pretending that it's ignorant, it takes the form of Atman, and then the same Atman raises the very itself to a point that it experiences back itself as a source of creation. Do you have a clue what I'm saying or no? It's extremely powerful. I know that for a fact. It's extremely powerful if you understood correctly what I'm telling you. You see, that's the relationship between Atman and Brahman. You see, that's the relationship between Atman and Brahman. You see, and you can only achieve the experience the source of creation while staying in the human form, even by through your exploring your own self. Lord Jesus Christ said 2000 years back, no one comes to the Father but through I am. He was not talking about his body or mind himself. He was saying I am is the source. I am. Had you not existed, remember not long ago I mentioned, had you not existed, nothing would exist. So become super. Have you not about super? Become super fascinated with your own existence and tap into it, explore it. You see, it's your field and it's a limitless field. Just go as far as you can go. Since the day of our birthday, you see, I wish you happy birthday also when I blew that incense, because every breath we are taking in, we are being born again. Since the day of your birthday, since the day of my birthday, starts the human conditioning and domestication, you see. And that human conditioning and domestication, as I said, some of it is necessary, but have the awareness when you are by yourself, you don't start living in that. You see, you take the mask off. So some of this is necessary. However, awareness is missing and awareness is essential. Awareness is significant and awareness is dire, if you understand. So become aware of your own self, and then you would have no problem with anything. Anything. You would be limitless. Since the day of our birthday, we learn not to be silent either within or outside. Meaning everything outside is a trap and inside is all conditioning. But it is very possible to reprogram yourself and become super silent. You know what super silent is? Shh. You become super silent with me, huh? Does that excite you? So you become super silent within, and you become super silent in your surrounding. Then you are not perceiving no thought through by maintaining the super silence, by maintaining the super silence every day in you, you know, by maintaining the super silence every day in you for some time, it would bring clarity in you, and one day you would totally be able to experience the source of creation as the source of creation, you see. And when that happens, people outside of you would imagine that you are not even a human. You are super maha human or something. Superlative degree. You see, everything comes down to practical. Everything comes down to meditation. So become super silent for some time, at least during the day. Become super silent for some time. Become super silent for some time, at least during the day. Not only in your surrounding, not only in your surrounding, but become super silent during the day within, you see, through Kriya meditation, and achieve the remarkable results and tap on the source of creation, which is nothing but wisdom and pouring out. Why cannot you see that? Because you have not reprogrammed yourself. Conditioning and domestication are necessary in order to function in the society. I do not talk to you fiction. I talk to you your own experience. So I am saying it's necessary. But when you are by yourself, you don't have to live in that psychological trauma. You lose your rubber band, you lose your elastic band or your rubber band behind the mask, and you take the mask off and you put it aside. You see, everything comes down to it. So now you know the relationship between Atman and Brahman. You see, Atman is the Brahman and Brahman is the Atman. The drop from the sea, the drop from the sea has all the tendencies of the ocean. And the ocean itself has all the tendency of the drop. Are you following what I'm telling you? The drop from the ocean has all the tendency of the ocean, and the ocean has all the tendency of the drop. You see, you put the drop back in the ocean and you try to find the drop, it's impossible. Or can you find it? I don't know, maybe you're Mahahuman. Anyway, let's get to our meditation while we have celebrated your birthday. There is also the relationship between God and the separate self. There is also the relationship between God and individual. There is also the relationship between the source of creation and creation. No matter how you look at it, you are looking at it the same thing. It's very simple. No matter how you look at it, you are looking at the same thing through different words, through different perspective, but you are coming to the same conclusion, which is Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman, which is everything is one consciousness. Shh, one. You like when I raise this one on my lips, huh? Don't you? Shh.